Tomorrow is the appearance day of Bhaktivedanta Thakur and Shyamananda Prabhu. If I'm not mistaken, tomorrow is also the appearance. And tomorrow is also the appearance day of one disciple of Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur. His name is Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj. Maybe you can check in that book. You remember the name, Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj. Tomorrow is his Vyas Puja Tithi. And tomorrow is also Baladev Prabhu's Rasyatra. Means the dance that he engaged in with the gopis. So tomorrow we'll listen about all those leelas from the Vaishnavas. But today we will listen about the glories of Bhaktivedanta Thakur. So his very name signifies who he is in Krishna's Leela, in Krishna's pastimes. He is Krishna's Vamsi. Krishna's flute has incarnated in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela as Sri Bhaktivedanta Thakur. So we'll read a few details about his life as given by Pujyavad Bhaktivedanta Tirtha Maharaj. He's given this beautiful book, Sri Chaitanya, His Life and Associates. So, the gopis have always praised the good fortune of Krishna's flute. No, because Krishna's flute is his constant companion. No, he's always playing on his flute. And if you see the flute is hollow, means it is empty. How does it vibrate Krishna's this flute sound? Because Krishna, as he plays on the flute, he fills the flute with the nectar of his lips. And when the nectar of his lips, it comes out as his Vamsi Dhvani, as his flute sound. And we know that what does the flute sound do? The sound of the flute enters into the gopis' hearts through the pathways of the gopis' ears, and it steals their heart. And then the gopis, they lose all their external awareness. And without having any hindsight about the consequences of having left home, what do? In the middle of the night, they run out of their homes. And sometimes they've not even fully, they've dressed themselves, not even fully, sometimes. And sometimes they put kajal on one eye, and they forgot to put kajal on the other eye. And sometimes even their hair is not tied into a braid, their hair is swaying to and fro. But still, in the madness of praying for Krishna, the gopis, they forsake all social inhibition. Now, for women especially, to give up the shackles of society is very, it's nearly impossible. Now, for a woman, chastity is like a jewel. So she'd rather give up her own life than giving up her chastity. But still you see the gopis even gave up their so-called chastity for the sake of Krishna. This is prem. Prem means the gopis are ready to be even criticized by society. Now, people may say many things about the gopis without knowing the nature of their true love. But still, in spite of knowing the consequences of their actions, still they ran towards Krishna. And there, when they met Krishna in the middle of the night, then Krishna and the gopis engaged in this Rasalila, in this Rasa dance. So Krishna's flute plays a very important role in his meeting with the gopis. Without his flute, who would convey this message of Krishna's love to the gopis? Who would be that instrument? Who would transmit that sound? Means, what is the sound of the flute? Is it just some musical, something which is meant to delight the ears or the heart? No. That sound embodies the love that Krishna has for the gopis. No. What does it signify? It signifies that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is Aptaram Aptakam. Means all his desires have been fulfilled and he takes pleasure in his own self. But in spite of that, in spite of being Bhagavan himself and in spite of being Aptaram Aptakam, still he is calling out to the gopis. And he's begging them for their love, for their praying. See, this is love. Such love can even bind Bhagavan so much that Bhagavan, he forgets his own godliness. He forgets his own Bhagavata, his own opulence. Like you see, Vaikuntha Narayan, he's all by himself. There is no need for him to even be massaged by Lakshmi. Now, Lakshmi is always massaging Narayan's feet, Vaikuntha. If you go to South India, if you have darshan of all the temples there, you see Ranganath, he's lying down. And on his feet, Lakshmi is massaging him. She's massaging both his feet. So this is Bhagavan. No? But you see here in Vrindavan, Krishna is falling at the feet of the gopis. So much so that in Seva Kunj, Krishna is even offering his peacock feather at the lotus feet of Srimati Radhika. He is offering his flute at the lotus feet of Srimati Radhika and saying, now, Smaragarala Kandanam, Mamasarasi Mandanam, Dehi Parapamam Mudanam. He's saying, oh Radharani, my heart is burning by this fire of separation. So kindly place your lotus feet on my head and relieve me of this poison, virahanam, of this fire of separation. You see, Bhagavan himself is falling at the feet of his devotee. Will Narayan do this? Will even Ram do this? Once Sita and Ram, they were walking in the forest, and once one thorn pricked Sita Devi's feet when she was walking. And then what happened? Sita Devi, she had to take the thorn out by herself. Ram would not even take the thorn out. Why? Because he is Maryada Purushottam. He will not do such things. So much so that when Sita wanted to garland Ram, when Ram had strung Shiva's bow, the Shivdanush, when Sita wanted to garland him, Ram wouldn't even bow down. He was like this, standing straight, erect. He wasn't even bowing down. Sita was thinking, how can I garland him now? So then what did Lakshman do? He is the ideal sevak. So he caught hold of Ram's feet. And then Ram, hey Lakshman, what are you doing? Hold his head down, then Sita garlanded him then. He said, this is Ram, this is Maryada Purushottam. But you see Krishna how he is. He is running behind the gopis. Oh, I want to relish this love of yours. No, Naparayam Niravatya Samnijam Sasad Kritta Vibhuda Ayushamiva Yo Ma Bhaja Durjara Keya Shrinkala Samrichadhyatva Pratiyatu Sadhuna. When Krishna said that even if I have a lifetime of Brahma, even if I live as long as Brahma, which is like billions and trillions of years, still I will not be able to repay my debt to you gopis. Because you have served me with such spotless love and affection. Because you see the gopis, they've given up everything. No, they've given up their homes, they've given up their families, they've given up their husbands, they've given up society. Now for a woman, this is impossible. Now, can a woman even think of this, especially in Vedic culture? No. Like in Vedic culture, the example is given when the Mughals, when the Muslim invaders attacked India, then what would they do? The first thing they would do is they would take all the women away. That was the first thing they would do. They would take all the women away. So when the women found out that the Mughals were coming, then what did they do? There would be a huge well, like a dry well. And inside that dry well, they would put like a lot of grass inside that well, and they would set that whole well on fire. And then all the ladies would jump inside. They would jump inside. They'd rather give up their lives than be taken away by other men. Women, such chastity of a woman is a true ornament. Nowadays, like Gurudev would give an example. Like ladies, they apply so much makeup on their faces to enhance their beauty. They do so much makeup. They put like eyeliners, lipstick, so many things. But really, a woman's beauty is what? Not makeup. A woman's beauty is her character. Is her chastity, is her purity. That is a woman's beauty. Without these things, a woman, how is she beautiful? Her beauty is only skin deep then. No, beauty is skin deep, not, or else it's very superficial beauty. So this way we say that the gopis gave everything up to be with Krishna. But can Krishna give everything up? He can't give everything up. Can Krishna even give a blade of grass up? Can he give us up? Now we are also practicing devotees. No? In one sense, we are also chanting his names. We are also listening to his Harikatha. We are staying in his dham. So Krishna cannot even give us up. He is even indebted to us to some degree. No, even we have given up something at least to be here. We have given up our luxurious life in our countries. We have given up all facilities, everything, and we are here. At least to some extent, like we've given up something. So Krishna cannot even give us up. But the gopis gave everything up. Krishna cannot give Nanda Baba. He cannot renounce Yashoda. He cannot renounce any of his friends. He cannot even renounce Draupadi. No, when Draupadi, when Dushasan was pulling Draupadi's sari, then Draupadi, she called out to Krishna, oh Govinda, protect me, your devotee. And then Krishna at that time, he was eating some prasad in Dwaraka. He had not even finished eating. His plate still had some food. Then he said, I have to go now. And Rukmini said, where are you going? At least finish the food on your plate. Where are you going? He said, I have to go now. My devotee is calling me. And he wasn't even wearing shoes. He ran from his room. And then he wanted to fly immediately to Hastinapur from Dwaraka, but then he thought I won't be able to make it. So then in one form, he appeared there immediately in Hastinapur, and by his hand, he appeared as the sari, and he covered Draupadi. So Krishna, how can he give to his devotees up? But the gopis, they gave everyone up. And this way the flute plays such an important role in these leelas between the gopis and Krishna. So the same flute appeared in Gaur Leela as Maharaj.Vamshidananda Thakur. His very beloved associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Like if you go to Navadvip, and if you go to this place, Paramatala, Prabhupada no, Yogamaya, she is worshipped there. So if you go there, right beside this Paramatala is this place called Dhameshwar Mahaprabhu. A very beautiful deity of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu there. So this deity was worshipped by Vishnu Priya Devi herself. Because when Mahaprabhu took sannyas and when he was leaving, then Vishnu Priya Devi, she was feeling so much separation from Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu had not even spoken to her his entire life. Because Mahaprabhu, after he had taken initiation from Ishwar Puri in Gaya, then he was no longer Nimai Pandit, he was Bhavuk Nimai. He would only be weeping in separation from Krishna. In fact, he went mad. He was walking towards Vrindavan. Immediately after he received Diksha, he started running towards Vrindavan. But then one sound from the sky came and said, no, don't go to Vrindavan now. Now is not the appropriate time. You return back to Mayapur and you have to go to Vrindavan after some more years, but not now. And then Nimai, he came back to Mayapur. And he wouldn't even speak to Vishnu Priya Devi. What to speak of even looking at her? He wouldn't even look, he wouldn't do anything. He only mentioned her by her name once. Like once, Sachimata, she asked Nimai that, have you seen this thing in the house? This thing is missing, like some object. Then Nimai said, oh, your daughter-in-law, maybe she knows. That was the only time he didn't even mention her by her name, but he pointed out to her. Or maybe your daughter-in-law knows. He didn't even say my wife. He didn't even say that. He didn't say maybe my wife knows. He said maybe your daughter-in-law knows. This was Mahaprabhu. So therefore we say that when Mahaprabhu took sannyas and Vishnu Priya Devi, she was the one who felt the most separation from Mahaprabhu. She is Bhakti Devi herself, Bhakti Swarupini herself. The day Mahaprabhu was going to take sannyas, Vishnu Priya Devi, she was going to bathe in the Ganga. And then what happened? She accidentally stopped her toe on a rock, on a stone. And what happened? Her toe started bleeding. Then immediately she knew this is very inauspicious. Then her nose ring fell inside the Ganga. And then she started looking everywhere. Because the nose ring for the lady is like, when she's married, then she applies this nose ring. So then she was thinking, where is my nose ring? And she was looking everywhere inside the water, but she couldn't find it. And immediately she ran home and she was crying. She fell at the feet of Mother Sachi, saying, oh mother, I lost my nose ring. My toe, it's bleeding. This is very inauspicious. And Mother Sachi pacified her, don't worry, my dear daughter, this is something, don't worry, I'll buy you a new nose ring. Don't worry about it so much. And that day, Mahaprabhu, the day before he was about to take sannyas, he came and he sat next to Vishnu Priya Devi. And that was the only time he ever spoke sweetly to her. The only time he ever spoke directly to her. He decorated her hair, he fed her some tambu, and he spoke some sweet words to her. And Vishnu Priya Devi was thinking, what is this? Why is he speaking so sweetly to me? What is the reason? He's never spoken to me his entire life. Now he's speaking to me so much low. Surely there's something wrong here. Like Gurudev gives an example, like a hurricane light. If you see if there's a hurricane light, just as it is about to be extinguished, it glows and then it extinguishes. Similarly, she knew that Mahaprabhu is going to do something very drastic. He's going to do something very serious. So she didn't even want to fall asleep. She wanted to stay awake the whole night. But then, because of Mahaprabhu's Yogamaya, gradually it seemed like so much weight was coming on her eyelids and she fell asleep. And then Mahaprabhu, he went to touch the feet of Mother Sachi. Mother Sachi, she knew Mahaprabhu was going to take sannyas. So then she just stood there like a statue. Very lifeless. When Mahaprabhu, he touched her feet, he did her parikrama 4 times. He went to Nirudai Ghat and he jumped inside the Ganga. And then he took sannyas in Katwa. And this way. So then Mahaprabhu, he knew how much separation is Shakti, Vishnu Priya's feeling from him. So then he appeared as this deity, as this Dhameshwar Mahaprabhu. This Dhameshwar Mahaprabhu, before when Mahaprabhu would do Sankirtan in Shiva Sangam, there used to be a neem tree there, which witnessed all of Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan pastimes. So this neem tree, it had stored the image of Mahaprabhu within its heart, this neem tree. So then what happened? Mahaprabhu manifested a deity of his own self from this neem tree. And then he had this deity given to Vishnu Priya. Now that he himself went and gave this deity. Don't think like this. Because Mahaprabhu was a very strict sannyasi. Once he had given up his wife, he said, I never want to, I never wish to see her again. Because this is a sacrifice one makes. That the dearmost person he loves, he gives her up or he gives him up for Krishna's seva. So he never went and gave her the deity directly. Rather, he had someone else give that deity to her. Even when Mahaprabhu would send Jagannath Mahaprasad to Mother Sachi, he wouldn't like send directly to Vishnu Priya Devi. Rather, he'd say, just give it to my mother. He wouldn't tell anyone, or give it to my wife from my previous ashram. He'd never say this. He'd just say, give it to my mother. And naturally, Mother Sachi would take that Mahaprasad and give it to Vishnu Priya Devi. So this is sacrifice. This is love. This is prema. The love we see right now in this world is so cheap. People very easily they fall in love with each other. But you see how much self-sacrifice for the benefit of others, how much is at stake. Like we see nowadays in culture, now especially in Indian culture, easily their boyfriends, girlfriends, this, that, all these things. But really, see, only when there's such ideal love, then there is some scope of sacrificing something for a beloved person. This way Mahaprabhu, he then had someone give this deity of this Dhameshwar, his own self. So then when this deity was given to Vishnu Priya Devi, she was worshipping this deity of Mahaprabhu in Mayapur for many years. And how would she offer bhoga? Every day she'd go bathe in the Ganga at 3 o'clock in the morning, and she would bathe even before the sun had arisen. Even before the sun had arisen, she'd go there. She'd make sure no one would see her. She'd go and during Brahma Muhurta, 3 in the morning, bathe, and she'd return back in those same wet clothes. And she'd wear those same clothes until they would dry. Every day she would do this. And then how would she offer bhoga to Mahaprabhu? She would have like a handful of grains, and she would weep. Weeping, she would wash each and every grain with her tears. She would wash it with her tears. And then she would cook that handful of grains, and she would give to Mother Sachi. And Mother Sachi would offer it to Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu himself would, although he was in Jagannath Puri, he himself would appear there directly, and he would take that Mahaprasad. This is how she would cook for Mahaprabhu. This is how she would serve the deity of Mahaprabhu. So then, after Vishnu Priya Devi disappeared, then the water of the Ganga started flooding her banks. Then this temple in which she was worshipping Mahaprabhu, gradually this temple became submerged in the water of the Ganga. Means the water of the Ganga started filling this temple up. So then Vamshidananda Prabhu, he took this deity of Mahaprabhu and he placed him here in present day Navadvip. Because Navadvip is on the western bank of the Ganga and Mayapur is on the eastern bank. Because Vamshidananda Thakur, he was always present with Vishnu Priya Devi and Sachi Devi. He was a small boy. At that time only 2 associates could serve them. One was Ishan Thakur. Ishan Thakur was a very elderly gentleman. He was a very elderly associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was like Mahaprabhu's grandfather. So when Mahaprabhu took sannyas, then Ishan Thakur, he was also there, serving Vishnu Priya Devi and Sachi Devi. And at the same time, Vamshidananda was also there. So therefore, when the water of the Ganga flooded her banks and started submerging his temple, then he took the deity and he started serving him there. And since then, the descendants of Vamshidananda Thakur, they have been serving him ever since there. So this way he is, let's read about his life here. So Vamshidananda Thakur, it is said that he is known by 5 names. Vamshivadan, Vamsidas, Vamshi, Vadan and Vadarananda. So he has 5 names here. So he was born on the day of the full moon in the month of Chaitra. Means tomorrow is the day of his appearance. Vamsi Vadarananda. The 2 villages known as Kulia and Pahariyapur were side by side. Vamsi Vadarananda Thakur, Kavi Datta and Sharanga Thakur lived there. So we know who Sharanga Thakur is. A very beloved associate of Mahaprabhu. Who Mahaprabhu once told him that the first person you see tomorrow in the morning, you must make him your disciple. So then there was a dead boy floating on the Ganga who had been bitten by a snake. His name was Murari. So then he whispered the Gopal mantra into his ear and he made him his disciple. So that same Saranga Thakur, he stayed there. So Vamsi Vadarananda Thakur's home was in Kolatwi, the present day town of Navadvip, which was formerly known as Kulia Pahadiyapur. So why is Kolatvi known as Pahadiyapur? Because Kolatvi was actually a hill. It resembles a hill now. Because when Varahadev appeared there, then he started digging up the place with his tusks. And then he found a huge hill there. It's called Tegari Pada. So the same place, Varahadev, he was being worshipped, and this place is not different from Giriraj. This place, this hill. So Vamsi Vadarananda, he was born here. So then, amongst the descendants of Shrikar Chattopadhyay was Yudhishthir Chattopadhyay. So he had 3 sons, Madhav Das, Haridas and Krishnadas. So whose father, so Krishnadas, or rather, this Madhav Das, he was Vamsi Vadarananda Thakur's father. And his mother's name was Chandrakala Devi. So it is, if you can listen to the names of his parents and how he was born, it is very auspicious for us. Because we see, unlike us conditioned souls, these liberated souls, when they are born in this world, they are born by the desire of Bhagavan. They are born by the desire of Mahaprabhu and Krishna. When we are born in this world, we are born by our own karma. Now, according to our karma, we take birth. But they are born according to the own will of Krishna. Krishna, in fact, personally requests them that kindly be born in this material world and kindly help all the conditioned souls. So then he was born as the son of Madhav Das. So when Mahaprabhu passed through Kulia on his trip through Bengal, which ultimately ended at Kanai Nathshala, he stayed at Madhav Chattopadhyay's house for 7 days. So when Mahaprabhu took sannyas, and as he came back to Kolatvi, he didn't go to Mayapur, he stayed here in Kolatvi, in Navadvip, for 7 days. And then he went to Kanai Nathshala. Why Kanai Nathshala? To meet Rupa Goswami there. Rupa Sanatan, Anupam Prabhu, they were present there. So he wanted to meet them there. At the same time, many millions of people were following him. Because Mahaprabhu was also going to Vrindavan. He wanted to go to Vrindavan. So he stayed here for 7 days in this Madhav Chattopadhyay's house. This is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So during this time, he gave his blessings to all the residents of Navadvip, and in particular to Devananda Pandit. So we know when Mahaprabhu came to Navadvip, then he forgave all the offenders. He forgave all of them. Since then, one name of Navadvip is Aparadha Bhanjan Pat. Aparadha Bhanjan Pat means anyone who goes there and sincerely prays for forgiveness from the core of his heart, that I have committed so many offenses to the Vaishnavas, to the holy name, to the Dham, to the Naam, so kindly forgive me. If anyone prays from the core of his heart very sincerely, then the Dham will forgive him for all his offenses. And he will be able to chant Shuddha Naam. In other words, he will be able to become a pure devotee by staying there. Aparadha Bhanjan Pat. Like here also in Brajmandal, if you go to Surabhi Kund, then there also all your offenses will be forgiven. Why? Because Indra himself, when he wanted to approach Krishna for forgiveness, he didn't want to do so independently. Because he knew Krishna would not forgive him. In fact, Krishna was very angry at him. Because Indra created so much nuisance, he caused so much disturbance to the Brajavasis. So Indra, whose shelter did he take off? He took the shelter of Surabhi Devi, this celestial cow. And under the guidance of Surabhi Devi, he approached Krishna. And then Surabhi Devi, she told Krishna that, oh Krishna, you are my elder son. Indra is my younger son. So you should forgive him. He's done something very bad, but you must forgive him. And Krishna forgave him. So if anyone goes to Surabhi Kunj, and he sincerely, if anyone goes to Surabhi Kund, And he sincerely takes that water and he puts it on his head, or he bathes in that water there, he offers the Lord Pranam. And if he sincerely prays at that place, then Surabhi Devi herself will take responsibility for that person. And she will approach Krishna. And she will tell Krishna that this person, although he is a great offender, great aparadhi. Now we are all offenders, no? Because when we chant this Mahamantra, we don't feel any transformation in our hearts. Because it is said in the Shastras that if one chants the Mahamantra, immediately he should start weeping. No, immediately he should start weeping. No, Mahaprabhu himself has said, Nayanam Galashura, Vadanam Kapkala Gira. No, when will my eyes weep? When will my throat be choked? No. All these transformations should occur in his form, but none of these transformations, no. Like we're chanting the whole day, but not even one drop, not even one small tear is coming, nothing, no. Not feeling any separation from Radha and Krishna. We're not weeping for them in their separation. No transformation, nothing. It means our hearts have become so hard. Our hearts have become like a thunderbolt because of offenses. Namaparad, Vaishnavarad, Dhamaparad, Sevaparad. No. So how can we be free of these offenses? So if you go there to Surabhi Kund, take that water and put it on your head. And Surabhi Devi, she will beseech Krishna. She will say, Krishna, kindly forgive. So similarly here, in Navadip, Aparad Panjan Pat, if anyone goes there, takes the dust of that place and puts it on his head, then the Dham will forgive him. Mahaprabhu himself will forgive him. Then he can chant Shuddhanam. So Mahaprabhu, when he went there, he forgave so many offenders. Like we see, all the students. Once Mahaprabhu, he was chanting the names of the gopis. Gopi, Gopi, Gopi. And some students in Navadip, they said, why are you chanting the name of gopis? Chant the name of Krishna. And Mahaprabhu said, oh, Krishna is a cheater. I don't want to chant his name. These gopis are so simple-hearted, but he always cheats them. So then they started speaking more and more things to Mahaprabhu. Then Mahaprabhu took a stick and he chased them away. And these same boys, they were thinking, oh, Nimai Pandit has become very proud now. So now we will teach him a lesson. They wanted to beat Mahaprabhu. And what did Mahaprabhu do? Oh, he thought, I came to deliver these people, but these same people now, they want to do this to me. By doing this to me, they will go to hell. So then Mahaprabhu, we know he took sannyas and he left. At least now that I am a sannyasi, they'll offer some respect to me. So similarly, when he came here to the Aparad Banjan, but all these students, they came and they fell at the feet of Mahaprabhu. They begged for forgiveness and Mahaprabhu forgave them. You know? And we see even there was one person called Gopal Chapal. So Gopal Chapal, he was a Shakta. He was a worshipper of Durga Devi. And he was very envious of Srivas Thakur. He was thinking, oh, why do they all respect him so much and not me? So one day outside Srivas Thakur's house, he put meat, wine, alcohol, so many things. And then he started telling everyone, oh, see, he's also Shakta like me. And Srivas, he didn't say anything. He just, whatever people had to say, he listened, but not one word he said in response. He said, all right, I am like that. And then because of this offense, he got leprosy and his entire body started melting away. So he also fell at the feet of Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu told him, first fall at the feet of Srivas. First ask him for forgiveness, then I'll forgive you. And then Mahaprabhu forgave him. And then Gopal Chakravarti, he was a scholar who had offended Haridas Thakur. He said, oh, in Kali Yuga, even like Muslims, they will speak on the holy name. And he offended Haridas Thakur in this way. Because Haridas Thakur said, what to speak of Shuddhanam? Even Nama Bhas, a semblance of the chanting of the holy name can give liberation. There is no need to even chant Shuddhanam. So when he heard these words from Haridas Thakur, he became very offended. And he said, oh, just see, born in a Muslim family and he's giving instructions. And then he said, if what you're saying is true, then my nose will fall away. And if what I'm saying is true, then your nose will fall away. Then Haridas Thakur said, what is he even saying, this scholar? No. What nonsense is he saying? Haridas Thakur, he just left. He said, no need to even get into an argument with such people. Just a waste of time. No. So then what happened? Because of that offense, Gopal Chakravarti, he also started getting leprosy. And then he also came and fell at the feet of Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu forgave him. No. This is so many offenders. Devananda Pandit, no, when his disciples threw Srivas Thakur out of his ashram, then Mahaprabhu was so angry at him, saying, just say, his disciples threw him out and Devananda Pandit didn't even bother to say anything to them. He just remained silent. What is the meaning of remaining silent? It means you're giving your approval. So Mahaprabhu was very unhappy with him. And then he also fell at the feet of Mahaprabhu and Mahaprabhu forgave him. So this way Mahaprabhu stayed in this place and he delivered so many of these offenders. So then it is said that he stayed there and he blessed this Madhav Das and his brothers. And he said, a very great devotee will be born in your house. He blessed him. So this information comes from Kavi Karnapur's Chaitanya Chandroday Natak. This beautiful book. So it is said that both Mahaprabhu and Advaita Acharya were present when Vamshidananda was born. And after Mahaprabhu took sannyas, Vamshidananda was engaged as Sachimata and Vishnupriya's servant and protector. When Srinivas Acharya came to Navadvip to see Mahaprabhu's family, Vamshidananda embraced him. This is described in the Bhakti Ratnakar. Now, because we see who is there to look after Sachidevi. She herself is so old. She lost her elder son Vishnu. She lost her husband Jagannath Mishra. There is no one there to even look after her. Who is there to look after Vishnu Priya? So this small boy, Vamshidananda, maybe only 10 or 12 years old, he came there and he started looking after Mahaprabhu's family. You know, like we see when Mahaprabhu was in Jagannath Puri, there were so many associates who could pacify Mahaprabhu in separation from Krishna. Like Swarup Damodar, Raya Ramananda, Kashishwar Pandit, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So many. But who was there for Vishnu Priya Devi? There was no one. No, she was all alone by herself. Who was there to pacify her? Sachidevi. Sachidevi herself was feeling so much separation. So how could she speak any soothing words to her daughter-in-law? There was no one to pacify her. And in fact, Gurudev would say that the renunciation that Vishnu Priya Devi practiced was even greater than the renunciation of Mahaprabhu himself. You know, Mahaprabhu is the king of all sannyasis. No one was as renounced as him. But still, her renunciation was even greater than the renunciation of Mahaprabhu himself. Because she is Bhakti Devi. You know, like we see, there's this place, Mamgachi, in Navadvip Dham, Modrundvi. So when Sita Ram, they were walking there, and then Sita, when she was looking at Ram, Ram became very grave. And he became absorbed in thinking about something. So then Sita Devi, she asked Ram, "Oh Prabhu, what happened?" Then Ram, he said, "In the future, in Kali, and you will worship me in my deity form. And here in Treta Yuga, after some years, you will go to the forest, and I will worship you, and I will serve you in a deity form." Why? Because when Sita went to the forest, then Ram, he wanted to perform this Ashwamedha Yajna. So Vasishtha Rishi, he said, being a king, you can only perform this Yajna if you have your queen sitting by your side. And Ram said, "How can that be? I have sent my queen away to the forest." Then Vasishtha Rishi said, "Then alright, call her back." Ram said, "No, I can't do that." Then he said, "Alright, marry another lady." He said, "No, I can't do that as well." Then he said, "Alright, you make a golden deity of Sita, and you do Pran Pratishtha, and then you can keep that deity of Sita right beside you. And you can perform this Ashwamedha Yajna." And this deity looked exactly like Sita Devi herself. The only difference was that Sita would speak, and this deity would not speak. That was the only difference. So then, Sita, she asked Ram, why are you performing such leelas? Why do I have to go to the forest? And then in Kali Yuga, you will have to go to the forest, and then I'll worship in your deity form. Why is this? So then Ram, he told Sita that I'm performing such leelas because by listening to these pastimes and by meditating on these pastimes, all the conditioned souls, they will be liberated from material existence. They will be liberated and they will achieve our eternal abode. They will serve us there. Therefore, I am performing these leelas. And also, separation, it nourishes meeting. It enhances meeting, separation, viraha, vipralamba. Like you see, if you see the ocean, if there are no waves on the ocean, then the ocean is not so nice to look at. But if you see high waves, one wave crashing on another wave, then the ocean looks so beautiful. Similarly, all the separation, they're like waves on the ocean of meeting. And separation only leads to this flavor, this rasa of milan. This rasa reaches greater and greater heights because of separation. So then Ram, he spoke these words to Sita. So therefore, see, the same Sita Devi, she appeared in Gaur Lila as Vishnu Priya. And that same Ram, he appeared as Mahaprabhu. And they performed such heart-rending pastimes. So Vamshidananda Thakur, when Srinivas Acharya and Narottam Thakur, when they came to Navadvip Dham, then Vamshidananda, he knew, oh, these Vaishnavas are very dear to Mahaprabhu. Like Narottam Thakur, Srinivas Acharya, Shyamananda Prabhu, they are the next generation after after Mahaprabhu. So then he looked after them so nicely. And he personally took them to all the Leela Sthalis of Navdeep Mahaprabhu. Personally, he held them by the hand and he would take them everywhere. They would do parikrama and he would speak Harikatha to them and he would make them remember all these Leelas of Mahaprabhu. This is parikrama. Gurudev said, what is the meaning of parikrama? It means not a horse race. Or that you keep speaking prajalpa to each other the whole time. Now sometimes we go on parikrama the whole time. 2.5 hours, 3 hours only speaking prajalpa to each other. How is that parikrama? Just speaking prajalpa, this happened, that happened. Or just stopping at every place, drinking juices, eating samosas, then again going. Parikrama means those Leela Sthalis which are present to your right, on the right side. You pray to all those Leela Sthalis. May all these pastimes also manifest in my heart. When you do Achaman in the kundas, what is the meaning of doing Achaman? These kundas, actually, the very Leela that has taken place there has melted and has become a kunda. This is the meaning. Like if you go to Apsar Kund, Naval Kund, what does it mean? That Ras Leela of Radha and Krishna has melted and taken the form of these two kundas. If you go to Surabhi Kund, what is the meaning? It means that pastime of Surabhi and Indra approaching Krishna has melted and taken the form of kunda. What is the meaning of Govinda Kund? Means that pastime of Indra performing Abhishek of Krishna has melted and taken the form of this kunda. So when you're doing Achaman, when you're taking this water and putting it on your head, you're praying that all these leelas appear in my heart. So similarly here, Vamshidananda Thakur, when he took Nartam Thakur, Srinivasa Acharya, Shyamananda Prabhu, when he had them do parikrama, then he speaks such nice Harikatha to them. It seemed Mahaprabhu directly appeared in front of their own eyes and he was performing all these leelas. So he was there, he was assisting them. So Vamshidananda Thakur, he lived as a householder. He had two sons, Chaitanya Das and Nityananda Das. And he had a deity called Pran Vallabha. Later, at Vishnupriya Devi's request, he established the worship of the Mahaprabhu deity in Navapuri. He also worshipped this Gopinath deity of his forefathers. He spent the last part of his life in the village of Bilvagram. So Vamshidananda Thakur's grandson, the son of Chaitanya Das, was called Ramai Thakur. So he is different from the brother of Srivas. Srivas also had a brother whose name was Ramai. But these are different personalities. So he found deities of Ram and Krishna deities at Prashkananda Tirtha in Vrindavan. So Prashkananda Tirtha is the ghat found at the banks of the Yamuna, which is not far from Dadashaditya Tila. So when Krishna fought with the Kaliya snake, then he was feeling a little cold because he was in the Yamuna for so much time. So then when he came on this hill where the Madan Mohan temple is, then it is said that all the 12 suns rose together at the same time. And the heat from the 12 suns made him warm, made Krishna warm. So these deities that Vamshidananda Thakur's grandson used to worship, he found these deities at this place. And he brought them there. So Vamshidananda Thakur's family received the mercy of Jhanava Devi. So Jhanava Devi herself, Nityananda Shakti, she blessed him also in this way. So when Vamshidananda found out that Mahaprabhu had taken sannyas, then he wrote a very beautiful song in separation from Mahaprabhu. So in that song, the translation is, "No more will I see his broad forehead," saying, no, Mahaprabhu has taken sannyas now, when can I have his darshan? When will I see his lalat, his vistirna lalat, means his broad forehead, decorated with tilak and sandalwood dots. No more will I see his eyes dance like birds in the golden lotus of his face. So Mahaprabhu's face is like a golden lotus and his two eyes are like two birds dancing on that lotus. No longer can I see him dance in Srivas Thakur's house with his devotees. No more will he dance in my own house while looking upon me. Will Nimai and Nitai, those two divine brothers, ever dance together again? I call out Nimai's name, but Nimai is nowhere to be seen. So Vamshidananda Thakur is saying, I'm calling out Nimai. But where is he? I don't see him anywhere. The heartless Keshav Bharati came and threw a thunderbolt on all of our heads. Because Keshav Bharati, he gave sannyas to Mahaprabhu. So he's saying that Keshav Bharati is so heartless. What has he done? He has thrown this thunderbolt on all the heads of the Navadip Vasis. And now our very lives have left. After Mahaprabhu took sannyas and left Navadip Dham, our own lives left with him. Now what is the use of us even staying alive? We are dying a very slow death. How can we now stay in Navadip? Because we cannot see Gauranga here. Who is there here? Who can now bring my Gauranga back? So who will bring my Mahaprabhu back? Is there anyone? Vamshidananda is praying. When Vamsi hears his young wife and her mother-in-law crying, he rolls on the ground in pain. So Vamshidananda Thakur is saying, when I see Sachi Devi weeping, when I see Vishnu Priya Devi weeping and rolling on the ground, I cannot even bear to stay alive. I want to give up my life immediately, but I cannot do so. Because my life is not present within me. My life is present with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's present with him. If my life was present with me, then I would have given my body long ago. But still I cannot do so after all these years. Because he is looking after my life. So this is tomorrow's appearance day. And also, tomorrow is the appearance day of Shyamananda Prabhu. So Shyamananda Prabhu has this beautiful temple. This Radha Shamsundar temple. So the deities are so beautiful. Radha Shamsundar. Also, there's one small deity to the left, Radha Lali. So these are actually his deities. It is said that Radharani herself manifested this small deity of Krishna from her own heart, and she gave to Shyamananda. And this deity of Radharani was found by the king of Bharatpur, who was a very wise man. So the deities in the middle that you see, Radha Shamsundar, are actually the deities of Baladev Vidyabhushan, who is like the great grand disciple of Shyamananda Prabhu. Because Shyamananda Prabhu, his disciple was Rasikananda Prabhu. And Rasikananda Prabhu, his disciple was Nayanananda Prabhu. And Nayanananda Prabhu, his disciple was Radha Damodar Chakravarti. And Radha Damodar Chakravarti, he is the guru of Baladev Vidyabhushan. Because Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu, when he was going everywhere, defeating all these scholars, then he came across Radha Damodar Chakravarti. And then Radha Damodar Chakravarti, he spoke to him. And he said, oh, why are you using your scholarship to defeat others? Rather, your scholarship should only be engaged in Mahaprabhu's seva, in Nityananda Prabhu's seva. This is the best fruit of your scholarship. Don't waste your scholarship in trying to defeat others, in trying to humble others. So then, he felt so pleased by his words that he took initiation from him. So Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu, he was like the great grand disciple of Shyamananda Prabhu. And so his deities are there in the middle. So Shyamananda Prabhu, Srinivas Acharya and Narottam Thakur are all eternal associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. For the purpose of preaching the holy message of Mahaprabhu all over the earth, they appeared within this world. I was listening to one class where Gurudev was saying that even Advaita Acharya, he stayed for so many years, even after Mahaprabhu had left. Why? This is the question. No. Advaita Acharya, he was already present for so many years before Mahaprabhu was born. And even after Mahaprabhu left this world, he stayed for many years. Why? Because he was waiting for these three associates, Narottam Thakur, Srinivas Acharya, Shyamananda Prabhu. He was training other devotees up so that they trained these three associates, because he knew that these three associates are very dear to Mahaprabhu. So he was waiting for them. Similarly, so many associates of Mahaprabhu, they wanted to leave their bodies immediately after Mahaprabhu had left. But still they could not do so. Why? Because Mahaprabhu had personally requested them that when these three boys come, they're only young boys, children there. And if you also leave, there'll be orphans. Who will look after these boys then? So Mahaprabhu requested them that all of you should stay back for some time. Like Narahari Sarkar and the six Goswamis, Kashishwar Pandit. He said, kindly stay back and train these three boys up. What is that, like orphans? No, who is there to look after them? No one. So in this way, Shyamananda Prabhu, he was looked after by all these associates, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Shyamananda Prabhu, he was born in Utkal, which is Odisha, Utkal Desh, in a place called Dharendra Badurpur. His father's name was Sri Krishna Mandal. His mother's name was Srimati Durika. Krishna Mandal was from the Gopa dynasty. And he had some children born, but they would immediately die. So because of this great misfortune, which had befallen his family, Krishna Mandal named this boy Dukhi. So he had many children before, but they would all die at childbirth. So he was thinking, at least I'll name this boy Dukhi, the sad one. Then at least he may be spared. Like we see Mahaprabhu, he was named Nimai, because Mahaprabhu's brothers and sisters who appeared before him, they have also left. So everyone said that the boy would become a great personality, a Mahapurush. So in an auspicious moment, on the full moon day of the month of Chaitra, he appeared within this world by the mercy of Lord Jagannath. Because all the devotees of Odisha, the great devotees of Jagannath. Jagannath is their life and soul. Like how for the Brajavasis, Radharani is their life and soul. For them, Jagannath is their life and soul. So because he had come to preach the glories of Jagannath, the Lord himself protected him as he grew up. The boy was so beautiful, he was like Cupid himself. Everyone was attracted by his beauty. Gradually, it was time for the child's grain eating ceremony, means the Annaprasan ceremony. And soon after that, he began going to school. So when they tried feeding him something, he rejected. And only after they gave him Krishna Prasad, food that had been offered to Radha and Krishna, only then he ate that. So those are the first grains he ever ate, the Mahaprasad of Radha and Krishna. Seeing how intelligent this boy was, all the scholars were astonished. In a short time, the boy learned Sanskrit, poetry and rhetoric. And soon after that, he began seriously studying all the scriptures. Upon hearing the glories of Chaitanya and Nityananda from the mouths of the local devotees, the boy developed a powerful desire to take shelter at Mahaprabhu's lotus feet. So everyone would be speaking Gaur Katha, the glories of Gaur and Nitai. So this boy was thinking, when can I meet Gaur and Nitai? This is the fruit of listening to Hari Katha. No. When you listen to the glories of all these associates, you must also have this desire in your heart. When can I have the darshan of all these associates? When can I see them? When can I pray to them? So he was also thinking like this. When can I have darshan of Gaur Nitai? Seeing his son always engrossed in the thoughts of Gaur Nitai, he told him to take mantra initiation. But the boy said, I will only take Diksha from one devotee called Hriday Chaitanya, who lives in Ambika Kalna. So who is Hriday Chaitanya? He is that very person in whose heart Gaur and Nitai always reside. No, there's that Leela that happened in Ambika Kalna. Once Hriday Chaitanya, he invited thousands of people for the Gaur Purnima festival. And Gauridas Pandit told him, why did you invite so many people? How can I feed all of them? How can I look after them? So then, when he went and looked up the altar, there he saw Gaur and Nitai had walked away from the altar. And they were dancing with Hriday Chaitanya in Kirtan. Then Gauridas Pandit, he took a stick with his hand, wanted to chastise them. Then what happened? Both of them entered inside the heart of his disciple. And since then he got this name, Hriday Chaitanya. So he is the guru of Shyamananda Prabhu. So even to this day, if you go to Ambika Kalna, the Pujari, he's always closing the curtain. Like after 1 minute, he closes the curtain. And then again he opens. It's called Janki Darshan. And again he closes the curtain. Again he opens. Because he's so scared that Gaur and Nitai might again run away from the altar. No, because his devotees are always coming for his darshan. Like here also in Banki Bihari, the same thing. They're always closing the curtain after 2 minutes, then again they're opening in this way. So this way Hriday Chaitanya, he said, is my guru. I will only take initiation from him. He said, give me the order, I will go to him and become his disciple. But his father said, Bengal is so far away and you're in Odisha, in Utkal. How can you go so far? He said, no, I'll go either ways. Then he said, many people will go there to bathe in the Ganga, so I will go with them also. Then his father, after like a long time, he gave him permission. Then after receiving the blessings of his father and mother, he began his journey to Gaudadesh. Gradually he came to Navadvip and Shantipur. And then he came to Ambika Kalna. So there he started inquiring about Gauridas Pandit. And there he found Hriday Chaitanya, who said, who are you? He said, oh, please accept me as your disciple. I've come from so far. My father's name is Krishna Mandal. My mother's name is Dukhi. My name is Dukhi. Then he said, all right, from now your name is Krishnadas. So Hriday Chaitanya initiated him then. And he began to serve him under his guidance. Then Hriday Chaitanya, he told him, now you go and study under the guidance of Jiva Goswami. Because he knew that the Siddha Sarup of Shyamananda Prabhu is that he's a maid servant to Srimati Radhika. And Hriday Chaitanya, he was in Sakyaras. So he was thinking, how can I instruct him in the service of the Manjaris when I myself am in the Sakya Bhav? So he sent him there to Jiva Goswami, saying he is in the same mood as you. So he'll be your Siksha Guru. So he sent him there to Vrindavan. And then Shyamananda Prabhu, having accepted his Guru's order, he went to Vrindavan. So then, before he went to Vrindavan, he had darshan of all these places of Navadvip Dham, where Mahaprabhu performed his leelas. And there he found Ishan Thakur and Vamshidananda. So then Ishan Thakur asked him, "Who are you?" Then he said, "I'm such and such person." Then he blessed him. All these associates of Mahaprabhu blessed him. And then he also went to have darshan of Gaya, where Mahaprabhu had taken initiation. And there he was so ecstatic, remembering this Leela. And then he went to Kashi. There he had darshan of Tapan Mishra and Chandrasekhar Acharya, and all the other associates of Mahaprabhu had hosted him. Then he finally entered Mathura. There he took a bath in Vishram Ghat, took darshan of the Adikeshav deity, and then he went towards Vrindavan. And there he started looking for Jiva Goswami. And when he found Jiva Goswami, he offered Shastanga Dandava Pranam. Then Jiva Goswami, he said, "Oh, I know who you are. You are a disciple of Hridaya Chaitanya Thakur. Your name is Tukhi Krishnadas. So now you stay here and you study the Shastras under me." And then Jiva Goswami told him that if you want to really realize the essence of the Shastras, then you go to Seva Kunj and there you sweep the floor every day. Because Radha and Krishna, they're performing their leelas even now to this day. So go and make that place very clean for Radharani and her Sakhis. This is your seva. So every day what would he do? He would go there and he would start sweeping that place. He would take some water from the Yamuna and he'd start cleaning it and sweeping it. And he would be loudly chanting the names of Radha and Krishna. So then he would also notice a girl who would also be taking water from the same kunja and carrying it on her head. So he was thinking, who is this girl? He saw a Brajvasi girl carrying this pot of water on the head. So then he was thinking, who is this? So that girl was one of the Sakhis of Radharani herself. So one day, while he was performing his regular duty of filling the water pot from the kunja, he was fully absorbed in this samadhi. So then, he saw in the water beneath his pot an anklet. And upon seeing it, he was thinking, whose anklet is this? And as soon as he touched it to his head, he became unconscious and fell on the ground. Then he was thinking, where can I find the owner of this anklet? So then he went to Jiva Goswami and he said what happened. And Jiva Goswami told him, this anklet belongs to Radharani herself. So only if she comes, you give it to her. Don't give it to anyone else. So the next day, Lalita and Vishaka themselves appeared. And they said, oh Baba. Because in Vrindavan, they address all the sadhus as Baba. They said, oh Baba, did you find this anklet of Sakhi, Radharani? Then he said, yes. They said, give it. They said, no. I'll only give it to that person who it belongs to. And they said, what are you saying? He said, nothing happening. Bring her here and I myself will give it to her. So then Radharani herself came after some time. And then what did Shyamananda Prabhu do? It is said that Radharani blessed him, and he appeared in the form of his Manjari Swarup, as Kanaka Manjari. And he himself put this anklet around her. And Radharani blessed her. And she had an anklet and she touched it to his forehead. Therefore, if you look at the devotees in Shyamananda Prabhu's line, their tilak is like an anklet. If you see, it's like Radharani's footprint, their tilak. Because Radharani herself blessed him. So in this way, seeing the new tilak mark, Jiva Goswami was so happy. And he said, from now, your name will be Shyamananda. He said, now you are no longer Tukhi Krishnadas. You will be Shyamananda. So then, after that, as we know, Jiva Goswami, he sent him, Narottam Thakur, Srinivas Acharya, preaching all over Bengal. And then Shyamananda Prabhu, he was given this task of preaching in Odisha. So in this way, he's continuing his preaching there. And even now, there are very great followers of his. And there are some more leelas here. It said how he delivered so many different people. It is said even great bandits and thieves, even atheists, they became delivered by him. So many took initiation from him, and they embraced his lotus feet and accepted his mercy. So tomorrow is his appearance day. So see here, it says one day there was a big yogi called Damodar. One day he went to take darshan of Shyamananda Prabhu, and there he saw divine effulgence as bright as the sun and approaching him. Then with tears in his eyes he said, oh, please initiate me. And then Shyamananda Prabhu said, just chant the names of Gaur and Nitai. They will give you prema. And then saying this, he blessed that yogi. And even that yogi became a great devotee. So in this way, even Gaur Govinda Maharaj, his forefathers were descendants of Shyamananda Prabhu. So falling at the feet of these great associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, headed by Bhaktivedanta Thakur and Shyamananda Prabhu, we can only pray that they will guide us on this path of Krishna Bhakti and help us achieve our destination, our ultimate goal. So Shyamananda Prabhu ki jai, Bhaktivedanta Thakur ki jai, Sabarsha Shri Gaur Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Shraddhai Paramade Prabhupada ki jai, Jai Gaur Nityananda ki jai, Jai Gaur Nityananda ki jai.